Welcome to the Wingman Show. Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Drew Brown, and my wingman, my man, the number one guy I know, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother? Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown, my wingman, my friend, my main man. Let me introduce to you Dr. Paul. What's up, brother Paul? How you doing today?
Well, Commander Drew, I'm doing very well today. It's a good day. We're going to have a good show, and I'm glad our listeners are tuning in.
So am I. I really appreciate all you people listening to us. And let's start off our show with the quote, "Good done anywhere is good done everywhere." That was by Maya Angelou. Good done anywhere is good done everywhere. I love starting off the show with a good motivational quote. Well, you know, the media says that if it bleeds, it leads. Well, us wingmen, we believe that it's good, it should. And I got a good one for you now, Dr. Paul. 2 women at the World Athletic Championships recently just shared a gold medal. So they're in Budapest, and they're both pole vaulters, Nina Kennedy and Katie Moon. Katie Moon is from America, and Nina Kennedy is from Australia. So they are in a 2-hour and 10-minute competition, back and forth, back and forth. They're each meeting their goals until they get to 4.95. They both cleared 4.9 meters. So now they're at 4.95, and either one of them could get them in their 3 attempts. So they looked at each other, and I guess they're friends. But I guess one said to the other, "Hey, you want to share this?" And guess what, Dr. Paul? They shared a gold medal. And that's one of the things that I think we should talk about is good sportsmanship, because we see a lot of bad sportsmanship. But what do you think about that, Dr. Paul?
I didn't know you could share a gold medal, but apparently you can. The lady named Moon, I believe she won the Olympics. She was an Olympic champion in I guess 2022. Yeah, 22 when they had it. So they knew each other. They were at that level. And apparently it's legal. I don't know if you can do that in every sport, share a gold medal. I'm not sure, but individual, I guess they can. So what's the rub? I guess you can't say I'm the gold. I guess you say you're the gold medal winner, but you're not the only gold medal winner.
Well, you don't have to go that far. Just say I'm a gold medal winner. And I think that they can share gold if they're both tied. Like, let's say you're tied in a race, or you're tied for time in some other sport. I think you do share the gold medal, and then, or the silver medal, the bronze medal, actually. But then the second person, she got the bronze medal. So there was no silver medal in it.
Okay. All right. That's a new one on me. Cool.
Isn't that kind of cool, though?
Yeah, that's different. I know you can do. You can share something good. Well,
I think we should all share things. And guess what I did, Dr. Paul? I went last week to go down to New Orleans, and my wife's car, she has a Mercedes. It was in the shop for a service. Mm-hmm. So they gave us an electric Mercedes, and they didn't ask for it back. We didn't get our other car back, so we drove it to New Orleans. Dr. Paul, let me just start off by telling you about this electric Mercedes. It was the smoothest, nicest drive that I've ever had before. It was incredible. And it is a great car for around town. But let me tell you something, Paul, if you're planning on going cross country or going for a 5, 6, 7, 8-hour drive, you better plan. It took an extra 3 hours because we couldn't find charging ports. And then when we did, some of them only took Tesla chargers, and it was a really big hassle. So anybody who wants an electric car, it is the most incredible drive that you'll ever have. But charging it out of town can be something else. Now, if you're in town, you have a charge port in your home, so every night you charge it up. But what a drive and what an experience. I'll tell you what, I won't go unprepared again if I ever do drive an electric car. And I'm waiting for that Tesla Cybertruck. I would love to get that soon.
Yeah, well, what's interesting. I didn't know. So you said they have different charges. Different cars have different charges. That's kind of like some Apple products that have different chargers, and it can be very frustrating. Huh. So, I mean, when you found a charger, did you have to wait to get onto the charger, or were there enough around?
No, they were all empty. Every time we went to a charger, it was empty. But here's the deal. You have regular charge, you have ultra charge, and you have hyper fast charge. So you have 3 different charges. Because we couldn't get that final charge in New Orleans, we couldn't find one that was close by or even within 5-10 miles. It didn't matter because when we parked it at my daughter's house, I plugged it into the electrical outlet there. And it took 4 days to charge up back to 100. But by the 4th day, we were ready to come home. So it worked out. But if you want to use your home little port without that super booster, it's going to take a while. I think you get 10% for every 12 hours or something like that.
Wow. So how fast is the ultra charge?
I can go from like 30 to 80%. And that's what they suggest, that you go to 80% in about 40 minutes.
Okay.
So on the fast charge, it worked out okay. Well, welcome to the Wingman Show, everybody. Check out those badass jets behind us. Dr. Paul said that's beautiful art. And I think we both have really nice looking pictures. So if you watch us on YouTube, first of all, please hit that subscribe button. That really helps out the Wingman Show. And if you listen to us on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or hit us up on Instagram, please like, share, and subscribe, all of those channels. Let's make the Wingman Show. Let's get some good, positive energy out there. And, we have a newsletter. And last week's newsletter, we call it The Gouge. And we call it The Gouge because in the Navy, it's like insider information. If you get a little information about flying an airplane that the new guy doesn't know, you give him that insider information. So anyway, The Gouge, and The Gouge last week was how to become an airline pilot. And Dr. Paul and I, we wrote up some great stuff. And if you're interested in being a pilot, that's the perfect place to go because it gives you both military and civilian options. That Gouge, that newsletter is popping, and you can get it at wingmanshow.com. Write us at wingmanshow.com. And there's even a spot there where you can ask us a question because we have a frequent flow line. And later in the show, we have a question from somebody out there. But please, all of you people out there, if you watch us on YouTube, subscribe. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, write a nice little review. What do you think about that, Dr. P?
Yeah, I think it was a very good article. Sometimes people ask, how do I do this? How to do that? I have no idea. Well, we did give you a nice starting point. Good information. This is where you start. Sometimes the big thing in life is getting started. Everybody has good ideas. I have lots of ideas. It's not, you've got to finish what you start, but you really got to get started before you finish. So take a look at The Gouge.
Check out The Gouge, wingmanshow.com. Well, let me start. Here's The Gouge. Here are the 10 most livable cities in the world. And let me show you a picture of Vienna right now because it is number 1, and it's number 1 for the 2nd year in a row. So I'm going to put that up for all of you YouTubers out there. But let me just tell you how they did find the most livable cities. They had 178 of them, and these are the top 10. So what they really looked for in finding out which is the best city is that they measured crime, they measured civil and military unrest, they measured healthcare, both public and private. They measured education, both public and private. Then they went to culture and environment. And then they went to social and religious restrictions, sporting availability, infrastructure, and they measured the quality of public transportation, housing, roads, etc. And that's how we found our 10 most livable cities. And I'm going to name them for you right now. So Vienna was number 1. Have you ever been to Vienna, Dr. Paul?
Never been to Vienna, no.
Well, from that picture right there, I would love to go there. Well, I went to the second one, and that's Copenhagen, Denmark. When I was in the Navy, the ship pulled in, and I took a train to Copenhagen. and it was one of the best weekends I ever had. What do you think about Copenhagen, Dr. P?
Well, they have a lot of bicycles there.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. They're known for the bicycles.
That and Holland, Amsterdam is known for also bicycles.
Yeah, I spent time in Amsterdam, never Copenhagen, but close.
Well, Copenhagen's the bomb. The next one, we've been to this continent. The next one is Melbourne, Australia. Have you been there, Doc?
Flown over it once. Never been in Melbourne, but spent a lot of time in Sydney. Is that on the list?
It sure is. It's the next one, Dr. Paul.
Okay.
The next one is Sydney, Australia. I've been to Sydney. I loved it. They even have a graffiti part of town where graffiti artists painted over all the buildings and all. It's beautiful. It's really something to see. It's a real tourist attraction in Sydney.
Yeah, I don't know if it's something about Sydney, but they have some really, really, really good shirts. I was wearing a shirt from the 2000 Olympics that I got years ago, doing a charter flight from, bringing back some horses, equestrian horses that one big black horse that won the gold medal. Anyway, I got this shirt. It was like 2000 Olympics, Sydney. Beautiful shirt. I was wearing it the other day, and somebody asked me about it. Were you in the Olympics? I said, no, I just bought the shirt across the street. It's a beautiful shirt, and I wear it every once in a while. I've kept it from 2000. It's a great shirt. It looked like I bought it like 10 minutes ago. I have it dry clean. It's great.
Wow, that's amazing how we used to fly animals in airplanes. Dr. Paul flew that horse in the MD-11, and they bring trainers on the plane and everything. It's quite interesting. The next one, Dr. P, Vancouver, Canada. Now, I always say I've been all over the world. This is one of the cities that I haven't been to, Vancouver. But all I hear about it is how nice it is and how beautiful it is. And Canadians are really, really nice people. Matter of fact, they're so nice, people make fun of how nice they are, which is nothing to make fun of.
Yeah, so I spent a fair amount of time in Vancouver. In fact, I probably have a cousin or two that lives in Vancouver. Yeah, Vancouver is a beautiful city. It's just less than 100 miles from Seattle. In fact, you can drive in like 90 minutes or so across the border, and it's very similar. Western Canada seems to be very similar to the Western U.S. Yeah, Vancouver is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful city.
Yes. The next one on our list is Zurich, Switzerland. Now, I've been to Switzerland, but I kind of cheated when I say I've been to Switzerland, because I remember the Ali Inoki fight a long time ago when the champ fought a wrestler.
I remember.
Back in Tokyo. Sometime away, I stopped over in Switzerland, and I remember getting off the plane, going in the airport, getting back on the plane, saying I was in Switzerland. But it's supposed to be a very, very nice place, Zurich, Switzerland.
Yeah, I have a cousin that goes through there. I've been through the train station. That's all I've done. Big train station. Changed trains there once.
And it's important for all of our listeners and our watchers to know this is the world. Please, if you haven't traveled, go out. That's why we're giving you this gouge. These are some of the 10 best cities in the world. The next one is Calgary, Canada. Now, that's 2 countries already in Canada. What do you think about Calgary?
I've been to Calgary a bunch. That was a regular place. That's not that far from Vancouver, flying wise. You're in kind of a mountainous area, between mountains and plains. You can get a lot of good skiing there. But Calgary is very, very cool. It's part of Alberta. As you know, Calgary and Edmonton. Edmonton is like really small. They kind of roll up the sidewalks at about 5 p.m. But you'll like Calgary if you go there.
Yes, well, you talked about skiing. That's one of the things that I have never done. The family and I, we never went on a skiing vacation, and now I'm a little bit too old to fall down and bust my ass. So if anything, if I go on a ski slope, I would like to ride a sled down like we did in Central Park. Remember those, what were they called? Those flyers, not frequent flyers, sleds that we used to have in New York?
I never did that.
Well, how about this, Dr. Paul? I know both of us have flown. It took a while to learn how to fly. Well, how about this United Airlines pilot? His mother actually works for United Airlines as a flight attendant. And they supported this kid going through flight school, starting off. His mother never wanted to fly with him in a little private plane, but he just got to fly his mother on a United flight. And I believe they went to Spain, I think. Yes, they went to Spain. And now the pilot, he gets on the PA system and he introduces his mom and starts to tell how much she supported him, how much he loves her, and everybody on the plane just melted. But it was their first flight together. So he took his mom on a flight, and she was as proud as she could be. And we'll show some pictures of that for you YouTubers out there.
Yeah, that's a nice story. It's a nice story.
Doss. His name was Cole Doss. He's 31 years old. How about that? Have you ever taken a family member on a flight, or do you have any similar experiences with that?
No, I do not. But that's great that he's able to do that. I have seen people do that kind of thing. I've seen actually married couples fly together, which is very interesting. I remember flying with a pair of twins one time when I was a flight engineer. The captain, and the first officer were twins.
What?
Yes. The Polo. That was very, very interesting. They're identical twins. One was senior, the other was a lot more junior. And they kind of mess with you by one would say something, ask you something, and you respond, and they say, I didn't ask that. And they would go after a while, I figured it out after about an hour. In the middle of the night, you'd figure it out. But yeah, that's very unusual. It's nice that he's able to do that. Yeah, they went to Madrid, I think out of Dulles. And I think his father was a flight attendant also, and his sister is a flight attendant.
That's correct.
But he's in the cockpit, and we'll show you a nice picture of him in the cockpit also.
What a great story. I have a little bit of a story. I never flew a family member, but I went and qualified in the T2 on the Constellation, and we did that out in San Diego. And I told my dad I was going to be out there, and I don't know how he did this, but I actually had taxied back in from qualing on the Constellation, and I'm taxiing, and all of a sudden I look, and my father's big black ass Cadillac is under a C-130's wing with my father standing there at parade rest. And I promise you, Dr. Paul, there was 13, 14, 15 Air Force or Marines around him with guns. And I could not believe that he was standing there, but they looked like they were protecting him at this point. Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, I open up the canopy and I start waving to my dad. I start, hey. And he couldn't hear me with all the noise, obviously, but I start waving. And then all of a sudden, the next thing I see, Dr. Paul, is him like screaming at me. Anyway, I close the cockpit, I taxi in, I go see him, and I was like, what the heck was that? He said, well, first of all, when I drove under that wing, all these guys came at me with M16s pointed at my head. And all I did was go to parade rest and said, that's my boy flying jets. That's my boy flying jets. And for some reason, they just stopped. I said, but why were you screaming at me? He said, damn it, you keep your hands on that wheel. Don't you take your hands off the wheel. That's right. So that's my little story about
2 hands on the wheel at all times. Good for you.
Don't you think that's pretty cool, Doc?
Yeah, I've never done that. I guess my parents saw me take off one time.
That's cool.
It was cool, and an uncle.
Well, that brings me to our special time. It comes time for a Wingman PSA from the 11 facts in life. Still under fact number 1, be honest, open-minded, and willing to change. Be honest, open-minded, and willing to change. That's one of the biggest facts in life that I know. Because, in order to change, you have to be honest with yourself. And in order to change, you have to be willing to change. And when you change to something new, you got to be open-minded. A lot of us don't like to do new things, but those new things are the ones that become great things. What do you think about that one, Dr. P?
Yeah, I mean, we all get regimented in some ways. And sometimes that's good. You need to have a certain amount of discipline and consistency in doing a lot of things. At the same time, we are in a changing world, and we do have to adapt. we have to adapt tremendously just to put on this podcast, where everything was new to us. It was nothing. And, some of it was difficult and took hours. Well, it used to take days and days. Now, maybe takes a few minutes. But that came through trial and error and practice and the willingness to do something different. So sometimes you got to give yourself permission to grow. Give yourself permission to grow, to do well, get a little bit uncomfortable now and then, give it a try. Don't do anything stupid, but don't shut off the whole world because it's coming at you whether you like it or not.
Very true, Dr. P. Well, remember, wingmanshow.com, you can write us for our frequent flow line. And this is for our frequent flyers out there who write us and ask us a question. We got a good question this time from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a 60-year-old man. He says he has several family members and friends that are morbidly obese, and he doesn't want to be silent anymore. And he says he has a need to help, but he just doesn't know what to do. And he's asking us for some maybe information, maybe something that we could tell him, because I have this too in my family and my friends. What would you suggest for this young man?
Well, say he gave us his age. His age is 60 years old. I don't know if his friends or relatives are older or younger. Probably doesn't matter. It's better if they're younger. But that's a very sensitive thing. If he says morbidly obese, morbid, and we're talking about death, they probably know it, but don't want to be reminded of it. So if you're going to approach them, you have to probably be very, very careful about it. You can't say, "Oh, you need to exercise and do some big program." No one's going to do with any big program. It might even be dangerous for them. One of the best things to do is to encourage them to start walking, because we've talked about walkable cities and walkable places. Remember Dick Gregory? Dick Gregory used to have these, the Dick Gregory Bahamian diet. He'd have them on powders, but he got these people who weighed, close to 1,000 pounds walking. And some of them lost between 100 and 300 pounds just from walking. That was his thing, was walking. They couldn't really run. But start with walking, start with some kind of movement. And yes, you got to watch what you put in your mouth. That's a big part of it. Stuff out of a box is probably loaded with stuff. So it's their diet and their exercise. I would say, introduce it to them, but kind of go slow. And you can just do it from the standpoint of, hey, you don't see a lot of old, obese people walking around. What I'm saying, I'm talking about over 60, over 70 or more. They're not tipping the scales at 300, 400, 500 pounds. So your body can take but so much.
Well, Dr. Paul, to me, this is real sensitive, because I heard him when he says I have the need to help. It's like me. When I see this, there's something in me that says you have to say something. They have a stupid TV show that I really don't like, but it's like the 600-pound people, and they go into their lives. It's shock reality TV. Well, first of all, how in the hell did you become 600 pounds? Nobody told you anything at 300. So that's my problem right here. These are people that I would love. These are people that I like, that I know better. So like you said, they know it also. But what do you do when you love somebody and you see them doing wrong? Well, first of all, if you live with them, the best thing you can do is show them by example. Show them by example. If you don't live with them and you are really close to them, then it calls for maybe just a little private conversation. And like Dr. Paul said, be very sensitive. But this is what I would do. First of all, there are ways to lose weight. And the first thing Dr. Paul said is move. You have to start moving. And when you start an exercise program, I tell people all the time, you don't have to join a gym right away. You don't have to get all this expensive equipment. All you need is a road, socks, and sneakers. And you start walking, even if it's 1 block a day. Just make sure you do it every day. And then you go up to 2 blocks. The second thing I would tell them, and I think you mentioned this too, Dr. Paul, drink a gallon of water a day. Let's just start off drinking water. Drinking water and walking will kickstart you into this new life, because I promise you it's going to be a new life. You see, we're cellular. We're cellular. And after a while, the heart will stop working because it cannot carry all that weight. After a while, diseases start coming. Inflammation starts coming. Bad things will happen sooner or later. So to me, I would say something. I would be very careful. The number one way to lose weight is watch what you put in your mouth. Stop the sugar, stop the carbohydrates. If you can stop the simple carbohydrates and you can stop the sugar, I'm telling you, pounds will fly off of you. But I do really sympathize with you because I love people also, and I have a need to talk to them. I've even met some new people that were obese, and I wanted to say something to them, but I didn't because, timing is everything in this world. Don't you think so, Dr. P?
Yeah, I agree. Time is important. Yeah, I did not mention water, but you're right. Yeah, drinking water is huge, is important. Actually, it kind of fills you up, and so you're not eating all the time. See, eating, munching is really gonna torpedo anything you try to do positively, and just not eating so much. There's this thing called autophagy. Autophagy is basically kind of a starvation thing. That's where your body starts eating itself. You can get rid of fat that way. If you just don't eat so much, if you can refrain from eating or cut down your eating, let the body kind of eat its own stuff, and that will help you with exercise. Don't you basically eat some? Don't starve yourself initially, but get into a bit of a fasting regimen here and there, controlled, and expand it over time, and with a little bit of walking and water, and you will start to lose some weight.
No doubt about it. And a big thing is, and we talked about this, ask for help. Power is asking for help. Power is asking for help and using it. That's true power. It does not make you weak to reach out and ask for help. Well, the name of our show is The Wingman Show. So this week, we have a hell of a wingman for you. There was a tragedy in Maui. The fires there really killed a lot of people and they hurt a lot of people. But out of the fire came heroes. And I want to talk to you about a hero in Lahaina, Hawaii. Shun Booze Sarabi, my man Booze. Booze was in the fire, right in the middle of it, didn't think he was going to be able to get out. Now, his wife and his children had left earlier to go to some neighbors, so they were safe. But he found himself in this fire. And then all of a sudden, he found 3 or 4 more people surrounding him, and they were in a place where they were going to die. He just remembered that he renovated a church not too far from where they were. And he remembered that they had water spigots. So he took them to this church, and they found some hoses. And for a long time, they started watering the ground around them and keeping it soaking wet, so the fire wouldn't encroach upon them. And believe it or not, my man Booge saved all these people. And that's a real hero. So sometimes out of the fire comes some heroes. And I'd like to say, Sean Booge Sarabi, God bless you. And thank you so much for saving yourself and those people.
Well, good for him. That was an extraordinary circumstance. Because I don't typically think, when I think of Hawaii, I don't think fire. I think tropical and surrounded by water. But they were confronted with really almost a supernatural situation where everyone had to basically fight, either get in the water or get out of harm's way, which was almost impossible. So keep your head about you when you're in a difficult situation. It's easy to say, hard to do. But he was thinking, obviously, and thinking well outside the box. And he saved himself and saved a lot of other people.
Well, Boo Sarabi, you are a wingman of this week. Dr. Paul, anything that you and our listeners think is meaningful, anything that you and our listeners think is beautiful, and anything that you and our listeners, anything that makes you happy, may you have that today and forever. Dr. Paul, I pray for peace.
I pray for peace too. And again, we appreciate all our listeners and viewers, and particularly those who are watching on YouTube. We do appreciate if you like and share and subscribe to our services. And also you like the likes, of course, but hit the notification bell. That way you'll be alerted anytime we put out something on YouTube. You'll see it right away.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and refer to use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth, and goodwill towards all men and women.